Hi, and welcome to the Fulfilled Truth podcast, the podcast in which I like to ask very uncomfortable questions about how people are doing in regards to their businesses that they're starting and being an entrepreneur. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to a fellow healthcare worker, Ify Asoh. Ify is right now a critical care pharmacist. And for those of you who don't know what the ICU level of pharmacy is very high level of I always call it like brain work because these guys are thinking fast. They got to get their medications right as the doctors need it. This is not minutes or hours. They have to do things in seconds. She's also a syndicator. She is also the owner of Goshen Capital Investment, sub two member also of our community, and owns over $24 million in real estate, which is so cool to hear. And I know you have an awesome story. So welcome, Ify, and please tell me about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mario, for having me on. This is amazing. Um, I'm like you. I like to think of myself as the everyday person, nothing special. I think this year would make it my 21st year being in the US. I came from Nigeria originally. Um, Very humble background, white collar ish, class, middle class. Okay, blue collar. Well, no, white collar. I'm gonna stick with the white collar. My dad
You,
was an
you know,
engineer,
you're it's
but
white collar, yeah.
well, but we weren't made to feel. We weren't privileged in any way, shape, or form. I was raised essentially in a single parent household. There were four of us. Came here on my own with who is now my ex. Um, we started from the bottom, the traditional immigrant story. Started to work menial jobs, but mine wasn't so menial. I knew I wanted to go to pharmacy, so I was working as a pharmacy technician, or that's like a pharmacy assistant in a hospital. Absolutely loved it. Eventually made my way to pharmacy school in Massachusetts. I first landed in Connecticut and, moved to Massachusetts for school. Went through a very grueling, intensive, accelerated pharmacy curriculum that shrunk a 4-year curriculum into 2 years and 3 months,
Oh
10 months,
my
excuse
goodness.
me.
That's
Yeah.
crazy and amazing.
It
Congratulations.
is. Thank you. That's because I already had my bachelor's of science in chemistry, so not
Mm,
having to go through another 6-year program would have been was what the goal was, and so. I did that. I did pretty well in school. Absolutely loved pharmacy school. And I was, slowly checking off the check boxes that the stereotypical West
yeah.
African girl was supposed to check off. I had gotten a career times two, because this was my second time going to college. I was married, got married relatively early. And so the next, reasonable thing was, kids. And so after pharmacy school, I went into a postgraduate training, which was also very intensive. At the time, we were working about 80 hours a week. And that was when I had my first
Oh
child.
my goodness.
hmm So it's just like what you see with the physicians. They go through a residency
Yeah.
training, and that's what I did. I did that for 2 years. And, once I got done, I got a job. And, I was living life as normal. And then, you know, more kids come. I started with one, then I had two, and now I have three. And then life happened. The marriage didn't work out. It dissolved. And where do you go when your back's against the wall and you're on the floor? There's nowhere else to go but up. Can't
Right.
go, can't
Right.
go back, can't go any lower. And so I find myself, looking at my oldest, who was going to turn 13 that year. So this was 2022. And I said, gosh, this guy is going to soon be in college. And I graduated from pharmacy school with it's called student loan, but it seemed like a mortgage to
Right.
me. And I
Yeah.
don't, I
Yeah.
don't want to pay, I don't want to pay it again. I don't want to have to go through this again. And so I had to start making my money work harder for me. Why? Because I always worked two jobs. I always worked two pharmacy jobs. So I'm not lazy. It wasn't about working, oh, go get another job. I had two jobs. I was already working two jobs as a single parent, and I didn't want to take up a third. I actually looked into taking up a third, but that
Mm,
wasn't the way to go. So I investing seemed the way to go, and so I started with traditional stock markets. I needed to understand it. What's it all about? And you're learning about bears and bulls, and then I started started. Yeah, I opened up a brokerage account. Started sticking some money in there, and it was going roller coaster like you'd see on an EKG strip. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is the way it's supposed to work, but this is not comforting for me. I don't see how I'm going to get to where I need to on my single salary, just me, with this zigzag thing, happening here. And the algorithm, as I was on University of YouTube, the algorithm did its thing, and before you know it, I started looking at, real estate, and started considering real estate, and that's how the journey started for me. One thing led to another, and then I joined the community that you and I are part of now. So we're talking summer of 2022. And then fast forward 2 years later, I've closed on the three apartment buildings. But that's my origin. That's
Wait,
kind of how
don't
it
don't say
started.
that. Don't say that last part so fast. Come on. You
Yeah, I
close on
blinked.
three
I
apartment buildings.
blinked.
That is amazing.
I blinked.
Tell me about that. How
Um,
how is that?
So it took a lot of chasing shiny object. I think the first
Okay.
community, the first real estate community I went into allowed for me to make all my rookie mistakes. I still make mistakes, by the way, but all the rookie mistakes, not having a focus, chasing shiny object, drinking from fire hose, not understanding, and then realizing the power of social media, using it for my business, how to network. I'm an introvert to the core. So I was able to do all of that. I learned the fundamentals, the basics, the rudimentary stuff through that first community. And while I was there chasing every single shiny object, I began to see that commercial real estate was where I was called to be. I walked into that community knowing I wanted to buy and hold. At least I had identified that as an avatar. I thought I was going to buy and hold in the Midwest. Nothing wrong with the Midwest, but that was what I selected.
Sure.
I thought I could only do residential. And then within our real estate community, sometime late summer of that year, a few people who had done a mentorship outside of that community came back and started sharing everything they learned for free. And so I started hopping on every single, possible Zoom that I could find. I had guidance from one of the accountability leaders that said, snap out of all this, chasing shiny object, just
Yep.
laser focus. And that's what I did. So I laser focused. If it had nothing to do with commercial real estate, I was not present. I did not care. If it was about businesses or Airbnbs, you wouldn't find me there. And that's because I had to learn, the window of time that I had was a little bit different, seeing as I had the kids and I had the jobs.
Sure.
So yeah, so every possible opportunity there was to network with other commercial real estate investors, I took heavy advantage of it. And I learned the lingo, got the confidence that I needed to start speaking to brokers. I started doing some broker outreach in North Carolina and Georgia, and it soon became apparent that I needed to have a team. I needed to be a part of a team. And so we're now talking about January, February of 2023. And through networking efforts, I did find someone who had a team put together. She had a deal, she was a sponsor, and she was opening up the door to new people like me. And that played, I think, a very pivotal role in what I currently do now. Um, because I not only joined her team and sought to just, bring as much value as I could as someone who was new and just starting out, but now I think what part of what that's done is it's morphed in me the desire to do the same, to pay it forward to other people. And so, like I was telling you before we started recording, what I've when I'm speaking with people and I perceive that they are also on the same path that I was once on, that they are close to their next deal, but they just need, some acceleration, some momentum, a team of sorts. I invite them and I partner with them in a very different manner than what the mainstream people probably do. So anyway, I, also saw the benefit of being part of a community. I needed an army, is the way I put it. And so I think in February of 2023, I joined a community that only focused on commercial real estate. It was amazing, and
That's
still
perfect.
part of it. Yeah, yeah, it's completely amazing. Surrounding yourself with people who are successfully doing that which you aspire to do, very important. And so walked in very bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, but full of excitement, and I was able to get quite a number of partners through there on the deals that we were working and on future deals. And so in late summer of 2023, the sponsor and I from that I had met earlier that year, we closed on our first two within a week of each other, one in Texas, the other in Pennsylvania. And then it took us a long time to find another, needle in the haystack type of deal, which we did, and we closed on last year. So, yep,
So
that's it.
that is awesome how you just mentioned that, because one of the things that, and you probably understand what I'm going to tell you. So in
Mm-hmm.
healthcare, right, where
Mm-hmm.
you have the mentality of your nurses are on 24/7, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're busy. You're there for your patients, you're there for your
Of course.
teammates, you're there for your coworkers, you're there for the families, the caregivers, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have to have uncomfortable conversations. This is what happened, this is why you're doing this, and it's
Yeah.
hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all the nurses, all the doctors, the pharmacists, the radiologists, ancillary staff, they were all trained to go to school, right?
Yes.
Get a whole bunch
Yes.
of letters after your name. It's very
That's
important in our
true.
field. We need a lot of
Yeah.
letters after our names, right? The more,
Correct.
the better, right? Uh,
The more the better.
um,
Sometimes one discipline doesn't understand what all those acronyms mean, but they're a lot of letters, so it means you must be smart.
exactly. It makes you look very important, right? And
Yes.
then be in debt for a long, long time. Then on
Correct.
top of that, you're supposed to work 30, 40
Hmm.
years, retire, and then die. That's it.
Pretty much. That's the
And it's so
script.
frustrating. Exactly. That is
That's
the
the
script.
script.
You broke
Mm-hmm.
that script. And this is what's amazing about you,
Yeah.
because you said, middle finger to all this stuff. I need to do something different. So let me ask you this.
Yeah. Yeah.
The inspiration that you got to go towards this financial independence, you kind of
Mm-hmm.
hinted at it. It was kind of like, you saw your son, right? Tell me more
Mm-hmm.
about that. Like, you saw your children, you're like, I need to do something different. What was that like?
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if life events didn't happen and turn the way they did, will I be where I am right now? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not entirely sure. But um I was in a very difficult place, emotionally, mentally, because divorce is loss. You go
Sure.
through grieving. Yeah, you go through a very period of grieving, and I didn't have any backup plan. I was the backup plan. I was a 24-hour parent. um and it was tough on the kids as well, and I had to be strong for them. And then the question became, well, who was going to be strong for me? And so as I began to, wade through the webs of what had just happened to me, you now begin to look towards the future, right? Because in the very early stages, you're just filled with the hurts of what's happened, and you're so busy taking care of the kids. But as things began to settle down a bit, I began to think about the future. So again, in 2022, and I don't know if it was just, maybe a Nigerian thing, but I feel 13 is a very important year. It's when kids officially become teenagers. So that year, he was going to turn 13 in December, and so we're in January, and I now have enough foresight to start planning ahead. I know a lot of people plan the year before, but bear with me. But I'm planning ahead, and I'm thinking, huh, how am I going, I don't want to rely on the color of our skin, and I presume that doors, college doors to
Sure.
elite colleges are just going to open for him. He wasn't in any sports at the time, and even if he was, I didn't want to rely on that either. I wanted my children to be able to go to any college they want, whenever they want, however they want. I just didn't want that to be a barrier for them. How is that going to happen without me having to go into a whole ton of more debt? Now, I know that it was my children or my son specifically that led to this inspiration. But when we start off in as business owners, especially in a lot of our mentorships, one of the things they ask you to identify is your why, right? Why are you doing this? And a lot of people, and there's no, this is not me, knocking on them at all. A lot of
Hmm.
people mention their why primarily as, their children or their family. This is why they're doing this. For me, it's a slightly different because my why actually was me. I had been through so much and I needed a win. I needed to know that there was going to be some way that I could break out of this illiteracy that I not trying to boast or anything, but pharmacy school wise, I graduated valedictorian. And then years later, I now realized, girl, you're illiterate. You're illiterate and it's hurting you. So
Yeah.
if I can fix that, then I become even a better parent. I become a better mom because that college that I want to afford for them, that's how that's going to happen. So I think I'm able to articulate it better now, but that's all that kept going on through my head. I just knew that something had to change, something had to change. I did look, like I said, I looked into, trying to get another job. I think I looked into trying to teach English as a foreign language, because it was to kids in Asia. I was like, okay, I'll wake up at 3 a.m.
Oh
I
my
looked into it
goodness.
and I was like, this is not feasible. This is just not feasible. I can't do this, and I don't even like it. My mom is a teacher, so I know what it is to teach. Don't even like it, but I think it was desperation mixed with inspiration that pushed me to where I am right now. I hope that answered that, but that's
You
kind of
you
how that
did,
went.
and I would say one thing: you might not see yourself as a teacher, but you're an educator.
Yeah.
You believe it or not, you
Yes,
you
that's
you
true.
are
That's
you are an educator. I seen
uh-huh.
your post on LinkedIn. I seen your
Yeah.
stories, and that is really cool to see how you use yourself as a
Hmm.
springboard to show people how you can succeed and how
Yeah.
well you're doing. And like you said earlier, that if you see somebody that cannot invest with you, that you tell them, okay, let me take it in my wing and let me show you. And if you stay with us, good. If
Yeah.
not, so you're a teacher, and so
That's
be
right.
proud of
Yes.
be proud of being an educator.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Embrace it.
I hope I my hope is to inspire people who are like me. So if you're an immigrant, you shouldn't have an excuse. If you're a parent, you shouldn't have an excuse. If you're a single mom, you shouldn't have an excuse. If you're a healthcare worker, it's a completely different language, entrepreneurship, but you
Hmm.
shouldn't have an excuse either.
Hmm.
So, that's the goal.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So tell me, how has your mindset around
Oh,
wealth and financial freedom evolved over time?
okay. So I'm glad you asked that because I completely forget about how far I've come. I had not heard of the word mindset or growth mindset or scarcity mindset until I started this journey. And I didn't know how much of a scarcity mindset I had. I don't know if it's because of my upbringing. I don't know if it's because we once had enough money and then all of a sudden we didn't. And I was raised in a
Hmm.
single parent household. I don't know if it's because I came from a third world country. No clue. But the idea that I could see myself successful and follow clues and have it happen, it just didn't resonate with me at all. I could see myself was doing the things that we talked about, which was go to school, get a good job, and put the money away in your 401k, and then
Yep.
hopefully you have a couple of years to to enjoy
Enjoy
it.
it.
Enjoy exactly. Um, my mindset I found mine. I can't speak about everyone, and I'm not a subject matter expert in any way, but mine has been like an onion, where when I remove one layer, I'm so happy. There's a lot of tears that happen during that removal phase, and I think I've just arrived, so to speak. There's another layer to
Okay.
peel. As an example, if one was raising, just as one of the things I do is I raise equity, and so if you're raising your first 500,000, there are all these thoughts that come to your mind. Can't do this. Why would anyone listen to you? What do you have to offer? Okay, then you complete that raise, and then if you have to raise $1 million, well, whoa, this is even scary. And then you have this inferiority complex. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I belong. I'm a female. I'm not doing this, full
Yep.
time. I'm a healthcare worker. Will they take me seriously? Being able to overcome a lot of the head trash that lies between our ears is some of the things that I've had to deal with in as an entrepreneur. It's taking things like intentional steps like affirmations. I have a coach. I'm of a Christian background, and so a lot of my faith is deeply rooted in God's word, and that's where I draw a lot of inspiration and strength from. But one has to do something intentionally to be able to get rid of the faulty mindset, the faulty paradigm that we have in there, in order to move forward. Being able to see yourself successfully doing something first in your mind, and then the rest follows. It's a game changer.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. Very well stated.
Mm.
So now let me ask you a different question.
Mhm.
Can you share a mistake that you made early on in your financial journey and what you learned from it?
Okay, so I think what we do in one of the communities I'm in, we call them seminars. We
Okay.
don't call them mistakes. So it's a seminar. So let me share
Okay.
one thing. Okay, so one thing I did was, and it wasn't an intentional mistake. It just had to happen. So with commercial multifamily, there are three main buckets, right? One bucket
Okay.
is someone has to find the deal, so that's acquisition, find and underwrite it. Someone or someones, have to raise capital for the deal, and then someone or someones have to, manage the deal. That's asset management. In raising capital, that is such an intense relationship driven business, more than I ever thought it was. And so when I started off in my journey, what I had focused on, what I thought my way into commercial real estate was, I would find a deal, take it to a seasoned sponsor and investor, and that would be my way to get into a deal. So I was only focused on deal acquisition, broker relations, and underwriting. And then I later found out that for my path, that was not the best way to go. And so raising capital was. And so not just one deal, two deals fell into my lap at the same time. But guess what? I didn't have a runway. I was so
Mm.
focused, not because I didn't think raising capital wasn't important. I just didn't have enough time in the day to do all these things. And we're not actually supposed to be doing all these things anyway, because it's very team based. So here I am. We have a deadline. I have two deals. I have a team, but I haven't done any of the legwork. I haven't done any of the prep work. It's like a farm. You have to plant seeds and then cultivate them. Hadn't done any of that. So there I am, Mario. There I am in the hospital going, "Hey, you want to invest in my two deals?" And then yeah, I have these. ICU nurses are very vocal. I had these two nurses that love me to pieces. I mean, I believe I'm very well respected where I work. And these two nurses, they're standing right there. And they go, "Hey, do you think Ify is in a Ponzi scheme, or is this a cult? Should we
Oh my
rescue her?"
goodness.
And I'm like, "Guys, I'm standing right here. I can hear I can hear you." But that's the way it seemed. Raising capital is not a one night stand. You can't just go to someone and go, "I need your money right now," and then walk away. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of trust and there's a lot of relationships. Maybe some people will, just dump money with others, but usually the people uh, people invest in people that they believe they trust. So at least you built a brand. You don't just start off the way that I did. And so a lot of lessons learned in my first raise, which I believe I'm correcting now, trying to meet with people one on one, keeping my all my investors not just in touch with them through regular email, but sending them a text. I send them all a gift during Christmas. mess.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a huge relationship. It's a relationship game. So don't do what Ify did. And if you're starting off and you're new, do not raise on two deals at the same time. It's very tough. Don't do it.
So let me ask
Yeah.
you this, so that we're talking about
Mhm.
money and stuff like that. What's an
Yeah.
uncomfortable truth about money or investing that people often avoid discussing?
Hmm. Let me rephrase that question in my head by thinking about what
Go.
I avoided talking about. I think I avoided talking about my financial future. I really think I did. And I know that because um, one of the first things that I had to do in my steps towards becoming divorced was I had to meet with a financial advisor. And the first thing she said was, I pretty much was preparing something that was similar to a personal finance statement. I didn't want to look at my finances. I think
Mm,
a lot of people are very, very uncomfortable with looking under the hood. Who can um, very confidently tell you how much they spend per week or per month on this, that, and that? A lot of us can't. We can't. We have an idea of how much we make. Every time you have to fill out a form and write down what your net gross. Do you have to consult something first, or do you have a very firm grasp on that? So I think that's one thing. Another thing is that for me, another uncomfortable truth about money is the concept of being wealthy. I think it was, and I don't know if this is again my background, being a very conservative Christian. It's not something that is heavily promoted as a good thing. It's
right.
almost as if it's a bad thing. Like, why do you want to be rich? Why do you want to be a millionaire? Why do you want to? That's greed, and you're reaching, and that's simply not true. Money is a tool. It has wings. It can fly, but um, I think that's an uncomfortable truth that a lot of people, depending on what I guess what tax bracket they're in, don't want to, face.
So when you deal with conversation with somebody, let's say you're talking to these ICU nurses, and
Hmm.
in healthcare, there's you can see the divide of who's making good money and who's not, right?
Yeah.
You see a housekeeper or an entry level whatever, right, versus a a brain surgeon, right,
Yep.
or cardiothoracic surgeon. There's a
Hmm.
huge gap, right?
There is.
So
Their concern, their needs are
when
different.
yeah, and so when you mention that, you talk about you being conservative, and which is fine,
Hmm.
and you mention how some people don't like to talk about how much money they make or being wealthy, right, or rich.
Hmm.
How do you handle that conversation? Like, if somebody's asking you that, or like wants to learn about it, how do you deal with that?
I think I had to first, and that's the beauty of the entrepreneurial journey for me is I had to deal with my own discomfort with this type of conversation. I had to deal with the fact that what we believe is that the love of money is the root of all evil, but money in
Hmm.
itself is not evil. So I am very comfortable. I had to overcome all of that. I am very comfortable speaking with anesthesiologists that make multiple figures, and I'm very comfortable speaking with, the housekeepers, etc. And anyone that feels uncomfortable about it, I think it's because of their own mindset. I've had people show me not their bank accounts necessarily, but their investments, and I don't bulk. I mean, the figures are very impressive, but I don't bulk at it or anything. And I think that my ability to interface with people of different income levels is because I've had to deal with whatever internal, I don't want to say demons, but whatever internal misconceptions that I had myself. So it's really for everyone to overcome that, and I'm able to help them. A lot of the people that I speak with don't necessarily. By the time they're having conversations with me, it's because they know something is wrong and they're willing to seek change. They
Okay.
know, yeah, they know something's wrong and they're willing to change.
So on the surface, when I look at Ify Asoh, right, I
Yeah.
see from far away, right? So all the way
Okay.
Europe and the Northeast. I'm over here in Texas, in the middle of the country. I
Mm-hmm.
see super successful person,
Okay.
super smart, right? Super like a great educator. I see
Thank
somebody
you.
who is like looking at your post, like you have a goal and you will get it, and then you'll share how you got it, and
Mm-hmm.
you will say, okay, I did this, and that, and what are you gonna do, right? I see a lot of that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is great. So I see all the fluffiness, I see all the rainbows, I see the
Yes.
unicorns, like yay, so take me behind the curtain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when people see that, they need to understand that that's just one facet.
Mm-hmm.
What is your foundation like? Like, is it really that nice and awesome, a wonderful thing that you have, or do you ever have some days that are like, oh my god,
No,
I don't want to do this?
it's
Tell
all
me.
sunshine. It's all sunshine and roses, guys. It's. I never puppies and unicorns, all of
There
them.
you go.
I wake up and they're everywhere. Uh, no, there was a particular day, um, where I wish it seems very counterintuitive. I actually remember wishing I could film myself at that
Mm,
particular point in time. My back was like I literally had my back to the wall. I was on the floor, kid number one screaming, kid number two screaming, and I was
oh
crying
god.
because I was just like, what is going on here? No, so people they don't see the tears, they don't see the long hours, they don't see the the lack of sleep in order to do what I do, which is again hold two jobs, have three children, and run a business within the same 24 hours that everybody else has.
Hmm.
Sacrifices need to be made.
Okay.
Sacrifices in general are not pleasant. Most people, even in medieval times, that are undergoing a sacrifice, don't go, "Oh yeah, I totally love cutting off, this part of flesh." No, it hurts. It hurts, and unlike like a sport where just keep practicing, you'll get better. It's always painful when you sacrifice. It always is. It could be giving up, a hangout with friends. In my case, it's usually sleep. I have
Mm,
run on, and I would never recommend this to anyone, but I have run on 3 hours of sleep multiple times, because you have to get a report out. I have had to host calls with international investors. We're not on the same time zone, and that was the only time that they needed to. And this is all before the kids get up. We have to pray, get them ready, go to drop them off at school, go to work. And so it is exhausting. And the thing about raising equity is it's not as if I can have a one-on-one call with someone and look kind of morose. Yep, I'm here. Okay, you investing or not? Okay, okay, bye. No, I have to come with the same zeal and passion, and who cares what I'm going through. And that takes strength of character. That takes me having gone through a lot in life and being able to get up and rise. And so self talk is very important, because I like thinking about, those I don't think they make them anymore, and I don't watch a whole ton of movies. But do you remember those movies that we would watch? Or they could be cartoons, and someone will have like a miniature version of them that's represented as a devil, and a little one
yes,
that's like
the
an angel.
angel.
Okay,
Yeah.
the angel, exactly. So I have mine are cheerleaders, and they're me, and with the pom poms, because I cannot rely or push the responsibility of encouraging myself on my children. So when
Right.
I fall, I have to get up by myself. And so that I've learned how to do over time, obviously with God's help, but it is tough. It's very challenging. It's tough. Whatever synonyms and adjectives we want to use, it's tough. I have very long days, in order to also be present at for my children. I have very long days, but I've also learned to be very creative. I was writing an investor report while my kids were in the the barbershop. And I'm like, I guess this is great. I never would have thought I could do this. I've had to take investor calls while my son was having his violin class. Thank God for sound blocking AirPods because it's in a music school. But I've become creative. I've had to learn how to work around what life has given me instead of just complaining about the situation I find myself in. I just figure out how to work around it, but it's tough. It's tough, and
So
I have to be
so
present at work too, mentally.
oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because in
Mhm.
that's life or death that you're dealing with. So I
Mhm.
understand 100% what you're saying. So
Mhm.
then let me ask you this. So
Yeah.
somebody listening or watching this and they're thinking about being an entrepreneur and they have a job, whatever job it might be. Every job has its up and downs and they can be hard,
Yeah.
right? Why do they want to do something like what you're doing? Why do they want to get into like, oh,
Um.
let me do this if he's being successful, but oh my God, is this hard? Why would they want to do that?
So it's it's all about choices, right? If they want to walk down the path of the normal, the usual, what life, culture, and society has told us we can or should be, then they wouldn't. They'll just maintain the status quo, right? You have to have that drive or vision or desire to be a little bit more than where you are or what you're doing. Part of what drives me, again, remember, my initial why is me, my
Right.
children, my family, they will all benefit from the, the results of what I'm doing. But I would like, let me rephrase this. What if, what if you love your job so much and no one's asking you to leave it? But what if you get to a point where you're so financially free, it's an option? It's an option for you at, I'll pick a random age, 50 instead of 60, whatever it's supposed to be right now. What if it's an option for you to be able, and this is speaking to anyone, you could be in your 20s, you could be in your 30s,
Hmm.
you could be in your 40s. What if it becomes an option for you? Because I love what I do as a pharmacist. I absolutely love it. It's very fulfilling. It's very rewarding, and so I'm not looking to get out of it because, oh my gosh, I completely hate it. No, I love what I'm doing, but the truth of the matter is, I was at a point where I had to do what I was doing,
Right.
whether I wanted to or not. And so I had no option. And so if your desire for that option outweighs your desire for not having options, you're going to be willing to do whatever it takes, that's legal, to get to where you need to be. Because in my learning, right, in my commercial real estate learning, you can be a passive investor, you can be active, right? I got to, if you do it the right way, you will learn enough of the business to now realize how much work goes into being active, and then you're at that crossroads where you have to decide, is this what I want to do?
Hmm.
Or
Hmm.
should I just stay passive because I don't want any of that. And I knew that I got to that point and I had to decide, do I want to go further as an active person? And part of the reason for me, while I said yes, was because you can achieve all of this. You can achieve it, if you're passive as well. But there are some added perks and acceleration you get if you're active. And I did that because I didn't start this journey in my 20s. I didn't start in my 30s. I started in my 40s. And so my sense of urgency, very different. So that's what I would say. They would have, Shakespeare says, know thyself. So to the person listening, you need to know who you are, what it is you're looking for. Not everybody's meant to be active. Not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur. But I have to say that entrepreneurship, I went into it thinking I was just going to buy houses. It has transformed the way I think, the way I behave. It's helped me believe so much more in myself. I've worked with the power of a team and the power of a community has meant so much more to me now with entrepreneurship. I thought I could do this whole, journey on my own, but I can't, and I rely heavily, heavily on a team. Yeah.
Well, your honesty is palpable. I can feel it, and that's why I wanted to talk to you because through your post, I can sense that there's more to you than just the writing
Hmm.
word that you see, right? So
Yeah.
let me ask you this question. So you're on your path of building wealth. You're on your path
Hmm.
of teaching people to build wealth. And wealth, like you said, it's different things. To me,
Yeah.
wealth could be. I always think of the housekeeper who works. Let's say they make $80,000 a year, which is really good, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
$50,000, whatever it is. But yet that person has $200,000 saved, while that person who's
Mm.
making $1 million a year is in debt $3 million. They're
Yep.
negative $2 million, right? So
Yep.
the level
Mm-hmm.
of wealth is different according to how you handle your business.
Mm-hmm.
How would you define, or what do you think is a common myth about wealth that you like to debunk?
Um, Couple of things. Number one, and I didn't come up with all these things. I'll just tell you that now. First thing is that wealth means being rich. That's not true. And you just displayed that with the example you showed, right? So, how much do you have after all your expenses are met? Yeah, that tells you if you're wealthy or just rich. Because a lot of rich people, yeah, they're rich, but they have um, houses and cars. And by the time you take all these payments and this away and the lavish lifestyle, because they had to upstep it, they really have nothing to their name. So it's a little bit more than just being rich or earning a lot of money. So that's one thing. Um, Money, on the other hand, is just one of the many different currencies that are out there. So that's another thing I want people to know. I want them to know that knowledge is a currency, time
Yeah.
is a currency, relationships are a currency. So for the person that may be thinking, well, I am that housekeeper. Okay, that's great. Maybe right now you think you don't have as much um, money, which is just one currency. Maybe you have time. And maybe all you need is some knowledge. Because if you have time and you can build yourself with some knowledge, you may be able to get things going. It doesn't have to be real estate. It's great if it is, but it doesn't have to be real estate. But you can step into the shoes of being an entrepreneur, getting a side hustle, an extra added income source in some way because you put in the time, you learned, and then you surrounded yourself by using that other currency of relationships, and you're very well on your way to getting the final currency, which is money. So don't think, oh, woo woo woo, woe is me, I didn't go to pharmacy school. No, it has nothing to do with that. So this discard that mindset. So those are the two
That's
things I'll tell people.
perfect. That's perfect. So we're winding down, and I want to respect your time, so I'm going to ask you just two more questions.
Okay.
Um, the first question is regarding the field that we worked in, so healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
So, what
Mm-hmm.
advice would you give to healthcare workers or professionals, I guess, who feel that they're stuck in their financial situation?
Hmm. Who feel they're stuck in their okay, so it'll be similar to what I actually just said. What I started doing, I have I interface with uh surgery, a lot of surgery residents, right? So I see them in their early stages of their surgical careers, and anesthesia as well. And when I started telling them was, listen, you're not making money now, okay? But you are going to at some point. This is when you begin to learn that there is more than just a paycheck. There's more than just, sticking everything into your 401k. Now is the time you begin to learn about that. So if anyone is feeling stuck, I guess starting by writing their goals. Okay, what exactly is it that you want? Because you are able to reverse engineer your success. It's possible it'll take you some time, but success leaves clues. So what are you looking for? What are your goals? Let's write them out. You need to identify them. They need to be specific. They need to be measurable. Follow the whole SMART guideline. Who else has done something similar to what you're looking for? How did they get there? Because you don't want to do all of this in silo. You want to be able to see either be part of a community or join or at least follow the footsteps of somebody else. But then break that whole mindset of can't do it. I'm stuck. No, you can. You can. It's just one currency you probably are looking at, and I don't know if it's just the money piece, but there are other currencies that you have in your armamentarium to play with. If I can
That's
do it with my little time, you can do it.
definitely there's no excuse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
None.
the
Zero.
last question. Um,
Yes.
what kind of advice would you give either to your younger self or to somebody who's just
Mm,
starting out to get into this entrepreneur lifestyle?
okay. I love that question because I have many answers. I have many
Go for it.
answers. Um, so many answers. Number one, it's going to be tough. Never quit. Never quit. Um, if I were to meet the younger me, and the younger me were to listen to to the current me, because that's key. Um, I would say that I threw away the currency of time.
Mm,
So, currency of time, how much time I spent scrolling and scrolling and scrolling on the internet or Netflixing. Meanwhile, I could have been building an empire. I threw away that currency of time because I didn't know, right? So, um, time is a currency. I don't know why I keep hammering on this, but time is a currency. Use it wisely. It's a currency. Build your knowledge. Use it wisely. So use your time to get knowledge. Use your time to get knowledge. Use your time to get to know other people in this field. Um, do not rely on a single income source, even if you are a full-time stay-at-home mom married to a rich billionaire. It is good for you to have a skill set that will enable you in a pinch, because money has wings and it can just poof like that. It is crucial for you to have a skill set that will enable you to bring in an additional source. So the younger me, Mario, I was comfortable. I was married, and so there were two income sources. So why would I do anything different? There was no drive whatsoever. And then now I'm looking at people who, oh yeah, I bought my first single family in 1991. And I'm thinking, what the heck was I doing? Why did I do that? There was no inspiration, no need to. I was following that old script, that old pattern. So don't.
Well, that was beautiful. I think
Thank you.
that your younger self will definitely will listen to you.
I hope
Thank you
so.
so much. So when people want to find out about you, how can they find you? Like, do you have Instagram or Facebook, or how can they get a hold of you?
I do, but I live on LinkedIn. I live
Okay,
on LinkedIn. Yep, and you can look me up. My name is semi unique. It's Ify Asoh, and I'm a pharmacist, so there's a PharmD there. I'm also on LinkedIn at Ify underscore. I think it's Ify underscore Asoh. I can't even remember which one it is, but there are not many of me, so you can find me. I would love, 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 love to respond to any questions you have, any messages. I love LinkedIn. I love Instagram. I also have an email. I am Ify at GoshenCapitalInvestments.com. So if you want to send me an email, I'm right there.
perfect. And I'll get all that information and I'll put it on my little description of our
Awesome.
discussion today. So I'll put your email and your LinkedIn account so people can find you, because you are somebody that people need to hear more about. You
Oh,
are
thank you.
extremely inspirational. Your
Thank
story
you.
is amazing. And I agree with 100%. If you can do it, nobody has an excuse to not do it. Don't complain that you don't
Awesome.
have time. If I ever hear anybody saying that, I'll be like, let me tell you about Iffy.
Smack him.
Shut up.
Smack
Shut up.
him.
Okay,
Oh my
well, this
gosh.
brings us to the conclusion of our podcast. Thank you so much, and we'll catch everybody
Thank
else next
you.
time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.